देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, कपिल देव देवाहुति की जय, मैत्रेय and Vidura की जय. Let's remember that we're still continuing the journey, the pilgrimage with Vidura. That was the whole context of these chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vidura is on his pilgrimage and he's meeting Maitreya, and all these discussions are going on. Discussions within discussions. So now we finished studying how Kapila, after instructing his mother, he left, and the mother also attained perfection. Now we're back to Vidura and Maitreya. They're going to discuss something relevant about this other impostor Kapila who preached atheistic version of Sankhya philosophy and shaking his head sadly at the thought of people being misled. He said, "My dear son, since you have inquired from me, I have answered, O sinless one. Descriptions of..."
Please share the screen.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I thought that. So we're reading from here. This is Maitreya. Maitreya said, "My dear son, since you have inquired from me, I have answered. O sinless one, descriptions of Lord Kapila and his mother are the purest of all discourses. Such narrations are most confidential, and anyone who hears or reads them becomes a devotee of Krishna, who rides upon Garuda. Thereafter, he enters Krishna's abode to engage in his transcendental loving service." Wow. Let's hold that thought in our hearts. One day, there will be Garuda coming to take us. So whenever we're reading scriptures, this is our life. This is what is actual action and activity and our duty and dharma. Every other thing we do is only to support this. It was a beautiful journey. No, with Devahuti, I was also feeling like morning when we would read, I'd feel like, oh, I'm also going into the forest and there and then sitting there and listening to Kapila. It was really nice. I also loved that section. And then with all the other Matajis together, we'll discuss it. It was so sweet. I'll always remember that. Okay, now we can continue the next section. Mataji Rasastali, would you like to take over from here? Tears trickled from the corner.
Okay, thank you. Tears trickled from the corners of Parikshit's eyes. Maitreya and Vidura's conversation had enthralled him. Although he had not taken even a drop of water since insulting sage Shamika and previous morning, he barely noticed his bodily discomfort. The king was determined to continue in the same way until his death in 6 days. It would be suitable penance for his offense to Shamika. Parikshit glanced at the assembled sages. Beads of perspiration shone on their foreheads. He could see that they too were mesmerized by Shukadeva's narration and undeterred by the relentless heat of the midday sun. His gaze settled on a group who had espoused aesthetic Sankhya philosophy before Shukadeva's arrival. Surely they could not still adhere to their foolish misconceptions. He looked back at Shukadeva, who was smiling at him, understanding his mind. Parikshit bowed his head, his palms folded. He was deeply grateful for Shukadeva's teachings. He humbly asked if there was more to Maitreya and Vidura's conversation. Shukadeva nodded. Maitreya continued to speak about Swambhuva Manu's descendants. Listen, my dear king, as I relate the rest of his account. A great roar filled the shady copse at Nemisharanya, where the concourse of sages sat listening to Sutta. All glories to Lord Kapila, they shouted. All glories to Devahuti. And all glories to Shukadeva and Parikshit, said Sutta. Darkness had fallen. Sutta suggested they adjourn and resume in the morning. The assembly respectfully rose as Sutta retired for the night. Then they too dispersed, animatedly discussing what they had heard that day.
Okay. So this ends the chapter. It also ends the Canto 3. Wow. We finished Canto 3. Jai Hari Bol.
Jai Hari Bol.
So I think we should look over this and see if we want to read something. Oh, these are beautiful. You don't need to read everything, but some of these things are very relevant. So okay, we can read this section. Do all the planets rest in the body of Brahma or Lord Vishnu? In Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 15th chapter, text 6, the gods pray as follows to Brahma. O Lord, all these planets exist within yourself and all living entities are generated from you. Is this true, or are the gods merely flattering Brahma? If it's true, then what of the statements in earlier chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam that all the planets exist in the body of Lord Vishnu and that all living entities are generated from him? See Bhagavatam 288, 366 and 523.8. Our understanding is that the universe is a shared body of both Brahma and Vishnu. Brahma is the individual soul and Vishnu is the super soul of the universe. Yogis are encouraged to meditate on the universe as Vishnu's body, because by doing so they will get purified. But this is an imaginary conception. The conclusion is that the material conception of the body of the Lord as Virata is imaginary. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 3rd chapter, text 30, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st 1, 3, verses 2 and 3 specifies that Brahma appears on the lotus growing from the second Purusha. A part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. From the navel like of his body sprouts a lotus stem. And from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifest. It is believed that all universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha. But he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence. The Laghu Bhagavatamrita of Rupa Goswami states, these two verses of Bhagavatam indicate that since the Supreme Lord never actually has a material body, conceiving of the universal form as the body of God helps materialistic people purify their intelligence. The universal form is not Garbhodakshayi Vishnu's body, but Brahma's. It is subtler than the four-headed body Brahma later acquires, and it is sometimes called Hiranyagarbha. The Purusha's own body, on the other hand, is Vishuddhatva Sattva, Vishuddham Sattvam, pure spirit, and Urjitam, innately endowed with self-manifested unlimited consciousness. Appearing in his perfect, incorruptible body within the universe, the second Purusha gives birth to Hiranyagarbha Brahma. Then, as a super soul within that universal body, the Lord guides Brahma. Lagu Bhagavatamrita, Gopi Paranadana Das Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, Chapter 2, Text 14, Commentary. Here in this table, we have the names of the daughters of Kardama, Kala, Anasuya, Shraddha, Havir, Bhu, Gati, Kriya, and the son of Brahma who this particular daughter wedded. Kala wedded Marichi, Anasuya wedded Atri, Shraddha wedded Angira, Havir, Bhu wedded Pulastya, Gati married Pulaha, and Kriya married Kratu, Kyati married Vrigu, Arundhati married Vashishta, Shanti married Atharva. So we studied that also earlier, like how in the Atharva Veda always begins with Om Shanti. And Arundhati and Vashishta is also very famous couple.
Yes.
And we don't have to read everything, but here there is something interesting. Devahuti questioned Kapila Muni, for she knew that only he could cut her attachment to this material world. The living entities in the guises of men and women are trying to enjoy the material energy. Therefore, in one sense, everyone is Purusha because Purusha means enjoyer and Prakriti means enjoyed. In this material world, both the so-called man and so-called woman are imitating the real Purusha. Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the enjoyer in the transcendental sense, whereas all others are Prakriti. The living entities are considered Prakriti. In Bhagavad Gita, matter is realized as apara or inferior nature, whereas beyond this inferior nature, there is a superior nature, the living entities. Living entities are also Prakriti or enjoyed. But under the spell of Maya, the living entities are falsely trying to take the position of enjoyers. That is the cause of samsara bandha, or conditional life. Devahuti wanted to get out of conditional life and place herself in full surrender. We saw that, right? That was very inspiring. Any comments, any questions? This list looks interesting. Conversation structure. I think this is interesting. So in chapter 13, there is still the conversation between Shukadeva and Parikshit going on, and that is actually spoken by Sutta to Shaunaka. Then there are verses 2 and 6, then it jumps to Maitreya and Vidura, Shukdev to Parikshit, and then also again Shuta to Shaunaka. Then the chapters, rest of the chapter from verses 7 to 46 verses, it's about Manu and Shatarupa, how they came from Brahma, and then their departure to earth, and they find Garbhodaka ocean submerged, and then Lord Varaha appears and all that. And that's actually spoken between Maitreya and Vidura, which is later Shukadeva Goswami to Parikshit and Sudha to Shaunaka. This is very, very interesting table. Who's telling who and how it's quoted. Like I said, story within the story within the story. See, you can see the whole thing here. Maitreya and Vidura, again, we talk about, they were very should speak about them. And many stories have within and within and within and within.
Like 15 cantos, 15, 16, all these cantos later.
No, they're chapters. They're chapters.
Yeah,
15.
chapters.
Yeah. This is all third canto.
Okay,
all of them are third canto, but 13 chapter, 15 chapter, 14 chapter, like that it goes, as you see. Like 14 chapter is mostly Shukar Saunaka and Shukar Parikshit. It's basically that. Then 15th chapter it goes, internal conversations as Brahma to the gods, and then that is quoted Maitreya to Vidura, and then Shukadev to Parikshit, and then Sutta to Shaunaka. Oh wow, there's like 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. co-conversations within the conversations. And then 16th chapter is also Brahma, and then Brahma to gods, and then Maitreya to Vidura, and then Shukadev to Parikshit, and then Shuta to Shaunaka. Then chapter 17, all these we read about Brahma and the gods, and then we read about Kashyapa and Diti, right? We read that part. And then in 17th chapter, we ended with Hiranyaksha, ranges the universe, spoiling for a fight. Then 18th, 19th, 21, 22, all that we studied about the battle between Varaha and Hiranyaksha, Varahadev and Varahiranyaksha. And then chapter 22, we study Kadama accepts Devahuti in marriage. Right? We start then 23, 24, 25. All this was Kardama, all the Kardama and Devahuti story. And all the way until
then Kapila, yes.
Then
So we have
Kapila
ended with
started.
33 we have ended, no?
Yeah, that's at the end of the chapter.
End of
So
the
25 is where we started. Kapila instructs Devahuti. That was 25, chapter 25. That 25, 26, 27, I think all those chapters was Kapila's instructions of Devahuti. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31. Then 31 chapter was this unborn fetus praying.
That was the best.
Again,
Really nice,
actually,
yes.
even that, yeah. Even that is within the conversation. All the way till 30, 33, like that. Then we ended. Nice. So tomorrow we'll start 4th canto.
Yes, we'll start.
Awesome. 4th canto. Oh, I'm so happy how this is going. I have to see the book. The next book will be very interesting.
Bhagavatam, I'm doing the 24th chapter, 3rd canto. I'm on that only.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. See, all these meanings are here. I think most of them we already know. Oh, this is what we finished. In this 3rd canto, we travel with the Saint Vidura of Mahabharata fame as he meets first with Uddhava, Krishna's secretary and close confidant, and then with the great sage Maitreya. We hear fascinating details about Krishna's divine pastimes, as well as revelations about the cosmos and the nature of time. Replete with powerful mystic teachings spoken by sages and gods, this insightful book will touch your heart and leave you feeling spiritually inspired and renewed. Oh, I definitely felt that. I definitely felt spiritually inspired and renewed in my knowledge. Okay, so next we will find the next, let's see which one it is. Canto 4, Krishna fulfills all desires. Here it is. I need to download that.
So many books by him.
Any comments or any questions? We have 5 minutes. Hey, Vilas Manjari has joined us. Hare Krishna, Vilas Manjari. Which is
Hare
finished.
Krishna.
3rd canto is finished. Would you like to share with us how much you enjoy studying scriptures? And less, you are how inspired you are to study scriptures that you don't even care when you give the exam.
I don't mind studying scriptures even if I'm not giving exams. I love it.
I know, that's so sweet.
But we have tests after every chapter.
Oh, really?
Paper comes and we have to attempt, yes.
This
I'm
is what
doing it,
Bhakti Vaibhav.
I'm doing it in Hindi online, my
Wow, that's
Diksha Guru,
awesome.
Sarva Priya Prabhu from Delhi, he has so many centers. So I am with him, I'm doing Bhagavatam with him. So with every chapter when it finishes, there is a test.
That's nice, no? You won't forget.
Yeah, yes, you
Yeah,
won't
that's
forget.
very nice, motivating.
Yes,
Yeah.
motive.
Initially, when I started studying Bhakti Vaibhav and all, my mood was very much about, I mean, I was young, I did it in my 20s. Mood was very much about finishing the exam and this, closed book and the essays. And I wasn't so much absorbed, and I wasn't giving enough time to digest and study, and not so much, rushing every day, because we did live classes. Like classes would be here, Bhakti. Sometimes Jayadvait Maharaj was one of our teachers. So we go listen and then come back and then, okay, finish studying and learning the verses and give the shloka test and the marks. And I was so in that kind of mood. No, not at all how I am now. I was quite passionate in studying. The
These
purpose of
online classes happened only after COVID. No?
that's true.
Yeah.
Actually, Chaitanya Charitabhus was before COVID, don't they?
True.
Yeah.
I think Rasastali Mataji means like Bhakti Vaibhav, and like this. They started Bhakti Vaibhav and all. They started only after COVID.
After
Before
COVID,
that,
yes.
you had to attend physical classes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, generally, people were giving different classes, like that Bhakti Shastri they started, but
In
after
US,
COVID,
my husband is doing online only since many years, Bhakti Vaibhav. I mean, in the sense they have phone conference, phone every week, 2 days within US.
nice, no?
Bhakti Vaibhav, yeah.
Very nice. I'm gonna stop the live because it's a